Well, guys, this is the update video you've been waiting for. We are so sorry it has taken us over a year to make another video. We have debated how much to say in this video. We could talk for hours about what's happened over the last year. There's been some amazing things, there's been some sad things, there's been some embarrassing things that have happened. We have made a couple of community posts, it was a while ago, about some of the things that were going on. We appreciate all the well wishes and all the people reaching out to us just to make sure we're doing okay.
Yeah.
We are doing just fine.
Yeah, we're okay. So in this video, we wanted to quickly recap where we were, like where we came from before this year, what's happened in this last year, where we are now, and where we plan on going next.
Yeah. A little over a year ago, maybe a year and a few months ago, we made a video about how Brittany was kind of growing tired of her job. We were both growing frustrated with where we were in life. We had just kind of like this complacency and lack of direction. We were also tired of what relying on the stability of a 9-to-5 was doing for our mindsets. And so we were looking to get out of all that.
Yeah.
So because we were in the financial position to do so, Brittany quit her job. I quit working on the side things, self-employed things I was working on.
Yeah.
Our goal was to pursue and grow a business together with both of us that revolved around real estate and YouTube, just because we were both recently licensed in real estate for the state of Georgia, like just before all this happened. So the very last video on YouTube that we made was an attempt to practice that. And that was a tour of a mountain Airbnb cabin that we had gotten an invitation to photograph in exchange for a few nights staying there for free. So we did a tour of that, and we were kind of like trying to see, or at least in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, how does this feel? Is this something that might be a potential direction to continue going in? Like, how does the audience like it? Like, stuff like that.
Right. We were trying new things.
Yeah.
And seeing.
So like I said before, we were in a very good financial position. We had about $80,000 in cash saved up. We were ready. We could afford financially to not work at all, try and pursue this and make it work.
Yeah. And at least for a year before we felt like financially we would need to do something else.
Something else we were kind of thinking about is like, do we move in with family? Because we had some family members who...
We're fine with that. So.
Yeah, and so that's what we ended up doing, because we could move in with family, substantially decrease our living expenses, and instead of having a kind of like a runway of 12 months to try and make this happen, and before we started getting really financially anxious, we now had like a 3 or 4 year runway to make this work, which gave us a lot more financial peace, I guess you could say.
And I think a little bit more focus, because that financial piece was taken care of, and a little bit more time if we needed it to make it work. Now, our plan wasn't to stay there for the entire time, but that was just taken into consideration. Yeah,
it was much more about just the financial piece involved.
Yeah.
And kind of like just allowing ourselves to breathe easy, I suppose. And guys, I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm talking weird. I've got Invisalign in. I've had this in for a few months. I'm still getting used to it. I feel like I'm talking strangely. It looks like I'm talking strangely in the monitor. So I apologize if it's weird. If not, just forget I said anything about it.
Exactly. So back to moving in with family. We got settled in about around the time of Christmas and got to celebrate that with family. And then we started quickly working on plans and trying to execute some ideas we had for the year ahead.
Yep.
About 2 weeks later, something very unexpected happened. My dad had a massive GI bleed that quickly progressed into a very life-threatening situation. He had to have emergency surgery, a lot of blood, and it was a miracle that he even survived all of that.
Yeah.
So we were very shocked with everything that was going on, but very thankful he was stable at that point. Still in a very critical condition with everything going on.
So just to, I guess, add more context to this.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks after we had moved, this happened with Brittany's dad. We drove back up to the place we had just moved from to be with her family. We were staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
And spent about 2 weeks up there.
Yeah,
in a hotel.
2 to 3 weeks, I think. Anyways, it was a long time up there, just to make sure everything was good, and to be there with him. And looking back on it, I was thankful that I didn't have the stress of a job during that time, because I could 100% focus on my dad and my family. So that was a big blessing.
Yeah, both of us could.
Yeah, both of us could. Yeah, absolutely. So fast forward, there were ups and downs with how he was doing medically, and we got to spend about 7 months with him during that time. A lot of back and forth, a lot of time with family, and then he went to be with the Lord and is no longer with us. But during that time, I'm getting emotional. During that time, we had a lot of good times, sad times, but a lot of good memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a long 7 months.
Yeah.
We were...
I kind of condensed it because we could talk hours about that.
Yeah, I mean, we could... Oh my guys, we could literally talk an entire day about everything that happened in this... Just with Brittany's dad.
Yeah.
Maybe we will one day if Brittany feels up for it. We were driving back and forth a lot, and the place we moved to was about 4.5 hours away from Brittany's family.
Yeah.
So we had moved 4.5 hours away from them before we were only like 15 minutes away from her family.
And in the middle of driving back and forth to see my family and then coming back to where we were staying at the time, we were going through a lot of travel expenses, hotel expenses.
We stayed in a hotel a lot instead of Brittany's family, just because I'm like deathly allergic to cats and dogs.
Yeah, and my family has pets, so that's okay. We made it work. And during that time, we had a lot of unexpected car repair bills, like way more than we've ever had in our car ownership history.
It's bad, you guys.
It was really bad.
You know, these repair bills were like thousands of dollars each, and it was something that Brittany and I debated for a little bit of time because they were so expensive. It's like, gosh, do we just bite the bullet and just buy a new to us car? We could have done that. It would have cost us a lot more money than just having a few $1,000s in car repairs, but these car repairs were relentless.
Yeah.
It's like there came a point where we were spending about $10,000 a month on between car repairs and just driving back and forth to see Brittany's family and going back to our belongings and where we lived.
We eventually bit the bullet to get me a newer used car, because just to keep repairing our cars was way more expensive than me just getting a newer used car.
All that to say, we started out with $80,000 in cash. 3 or 4 months in, we were down to about 40.
Yeah.
With everything going on.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's all this emotional stress of, everything going on with Brittany's dad, and the financial stress of like all these car repair bills. There's also like relational stress.
Because you're living
in the middle of all of this, not really having a place to be alone. Brittany and I mean, just because we're living with family. And so it was around this time, it's like, okay, we need to get a place of our own. This probably is not the best time to try and make this work anymore.
Yeah. So I was able to find a job in the area, not too far from where we were staying currently.
Yeah, with family.
And then with that income, we moved into an apartment. And I was able to still go up to see my family in the middle of all of that.
I was also looking for jobs, working on my resume, and applying for things. And I ended up getting a job in the area we're at now. And then we moved where we currently are.
Which was like in another state.
It was about 8 hours away. And that was around July, August timeframe. Over the last year or so, we have lived in 4 different places, and we have moved 3 times. And all this other stuff has been going on. So we've been very blessed. We're very blessed with everything we have. But it has been a bit stressful for us, to say the least.
And thus why we haven't been making videos.
Yeah. So I think, at this point in the video, it's very important for us to say that there are a lot of very heavy, intense things going on. At least it felt that way for us.
Yeah.
In the midst of all that, it was so clear to us how present God's hand was in our lives and the lives of our families, especially for Brittany's father.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things that we saw that wouldn't make any sense trying to talk about.
Yeah.
But for us, probably would change our lives I don't want us to come across like everything that happened was negative. It was tough to go through, extremely difficult to go through, but I feel like both of us came out of all that better people spiritually.
And just extremely grateful for the time we were able to have with family, without most of the time having to worry about work.
Yeah. Okay, so now transitioning to where we are now. I don't want to say where we are. I'm working. Brittany's not. Brittany's taking a much-deserved break.
Yeah.
The organization I'm working for is, it's kind of crazy.
Didn't expect.
It is
here.
one that I never really thought. It's one that I've dreamed of working for since I was a little kid, and one I never really thought that I would be working for. But here we are, and I don't want to say what it is, just for privacy's sake. But it is looked upon very well, pretty much nationwide, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be working here. And it's it's providing a roof over our heads, food on the table. So I want to make it clear we are very grateful for all of this. Like, it's just incredible to me that I'm actually working for who I'm working for. That being said, we're kind of in the same place we were a year ago.
Yeah.
Not much has changed. We have just grown a lot as people. The position we were in a year ago, kind of being complacent, wanting to take a risk, kind of being tired of how a 9-to-5 paycheck was conditioning us to live, we're right back to where we started.
Yeah.
And that's the part.
That's the part that's I guess kind of embarrassing.
A little embarrassing. Like we're doing what we feel like we need to be doing at the moment.
Which brings us to where we want to go from here. So we know that where we're at right now is temporary, and we are making some definitely bigger plans and ideas for the future.
Yeah. I don't think our goals have changed at all. Maybe the trajectory of us getting there has changed.
Yeah.
But the end goal that we want is financial freedom. I mean, we've been talking about this ever since, the very first videos on our channel, we've basically been talking about this.
Yeah.
We are not so much interested in security, because the more security you have, the less freedom you have. That's just the way it works. And
that's what we've noticed.
Yeah.
But with us.
We don't think we are going to find that freedom. In fact, I'm almost positive we're not, in the state that we are living right now. So something's going to have to change. There is something that I have struggled with my entire life, and that is not being myself. Not being the person that God made me to be. And instead of being myself, instead of being that person, I seem to, there's this tendency within me to conform to, I wouldn't necessarily say the people immediately around me, but like
those who are probably more important to you.
The larger influences in my life, whether that comes from people or messaging, I tend to conform to, and I need to get out of that. Like that's something I've been working on very hard.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of weeks. I want to try and help other people do the same, just because that has pretty much been my story my entire life. We hope you have all been well. Again, we're very sorry that it's taken us so long to make this update. Something we've been thinking about for probably 3 or 4 months. We hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, Happy New Year. One thing that we forgot to say is that there may or may not be some exciting news happening with Brittany that we may or may not be talking about in a future video. So if you're interested in maybe or maybe not hearing about it, stay tuned.
Just keep an eye out on our channel.
Yeah. All right. See you later, guys.
Bye.